Hi guys, I thought I'd do an autopsy after our trip to Namibia. We were meant to go for 4 weeks to reach Angola, but we didn't make it. We got 2 weeks in, 13 nights in, and I must say for a few reasons we decided to come back home again. One, we had a few business things going on at home that needed to be attended to. Two, Adrian got a bee in his bonnet that it kind of 2 weeks is his limit, and we've got to work on that to get it longer than 2 weeks. And so we decided to come home. But we had seen a lot and we had seen enough, and we actually really enjoyed it. Namibia is something to see. The landscape is phenomenal, and so the highs of Namibia were the landscape, the people were friendly, it was reasonably priced, and the van actually went beautifully. It was very comfortable. I really recommend people don't travel in a tent. It's flippin' hard. So the van was an absolute blessing. The negatives of traveling, I think, Namibia or anywhere, if you are traveling with a tent, it is very tough, and the wind, the sand, it is a desert. You're gonna get hammered by the elements. The other negatives were Caesarium is a desert. It's sand, and the campground has got no trees. It's 35 degrees, and I must actually say, you can see in one of the videos that Adrian loses his sense of humor at that point. The rutted road, we must have been on a 2-hour rutted road, and after that, between that and the guy at the tire place breaking the sensor on the tire, and the sand in his food, and the wind and the 35-degree heat, he actually did lose his sense of humor, so he needed a little time out. So we gave him a little snooze time, and then he came right after that. But we all lose our little thing, because the very next morning when we got to the bathroom, I stood there buck naked with having no hot water to wash the dishes, and as you could see in some of the videos, my hair turns to vulcanized wuss, so I was in a bad shape. So the next day I actually had to also have a little time out. Traveling is not for the faint-hearted. So just a little history on Namibia. There's actually only 3.1 million people in Namibia, of which 200,000 are white people. They are mainly made up of Germans and Afrikaans people. The trip itself, it cost us 23,400 in fuel. The accommodation was 5,730 for 13 nights for 2 people camping. So it worked out to an average of 440 Rand per night for both of us. The groceries was 6,000, the eating out was 2,300, and the border fees and traveling fees and whatever was 1,050. So all in all it came to 21,000, which wasn't bad at all. No, it didn't come to 21,000. Fuel came to 21,000. So all in all it came to 40,000 Rand for the whole trip, which isn't too bad. 2 weeks. Would I go to Namibia again? I don't think so. I think as a South African, and perhaps a German, you need to go to Namibia at least once in your life. But to go a second time, no, I don't think so. I think we've got 15 summers left, and we've got to spend them wisely and see new things all the time. Well, I hope you enjoyed coming along with us. It was a little bit rough on occasions, in particular with the hairdos, but I hope you also saw our sense of humor and enjoyed it with us. So I'll leave you with this. When we actually were at Canyon something or other on the C12, we stopped and had apple strudel, the best apple strudel in Namibia, I might add. We met a girl by the name of Macy who runs it, and what an experience. And I wrote a little story of our visit with Macy and eating apple strudel, and I'll leave you with the story and some visuals. Macy and her apple strudel. Directions to get there. When you get to the end of the earth, turn left and go for another day. What an interesting breath of fresh air you'll meet there, and her name is Macy. Now remember, this is a desert, with nothing in the line of vegetation or water or money or any stuff for that matter, and in this setting we come across a garden flourishing, a garden of ornaments such as dead cars, painted stones and quirky sounds. More importantly are man-made shady spots with chairs and tables inviting us to sit. This is when Macy pops up to take our order, 2 apple strudels with tea. Macy was around 60, short and stout. When she brought us the order, she promptly sat down with it, which we welcomed, as we love to learn about the local Skinner. And as one does, you start with the weather, or lack thereof. She told us recently it had rained like hell, but before that they had only received 100 millimeters for 7 years. We clarified, did you mean 100 millimeters per year each year for 7 years? No, she replied, 100 millimeters for the entire 7 years, of which 2 years was not one drop. Holy crap, that's harsh. My thoughts went to, how do you keep the plants and yourself alive, let alone animals? A new level of respect kicked in when I tried to even fathom this harsh environment. She went on to tell us they stopped farming and now she only does apple strudel full time. She said she had a borehole which was 120 meters deep, which connects the sea below to them. She knows this because the water is salty, it's undrinkable. Once a customer from the university came and asked her if she could test Macy's salty water. She took a sample and a few days later phoned Macy with the results. The results were the water was salty. Macy's normal water is a salty 6 and Macy's was 6,000. So she had determined that Macy's water was salty. Well, hell, I don't even need a fancy university degree to determine that, was her conclusion. The conversation excitedly moved to the most recent rain. Her and her husband watched the spectacular rain with great excitement from their stoep. When it slowed down, her husband was eager to get out there into the veld to see what the rain had done. A moment later, he came racing back up the driveway to the house, shouting out the window, "Quickly, quickly, jump in! You're not going to believe what I found." She jumped in, and when they reached the little driffy in the driveway, there was a red VW Beetle. The rain had washed away the silted fine sand away to reveal the red VW Beetle. What a find! They had been driving over the roof of the red VW for decades. How on earth did it get there? She pointed across the garden and very proudly said, "There's the VW Beetle. It's her proudest garden ornament." There was no stopping her. She went on to say that because her apple strudel is so famous, many weird and famous people come to try it out. Once a man in a rickshaw came past. He looked desperate, so she gave him some water, which he drank way too much of, and she found it very rude. And once a man walking through Namibia once a man in a wheelchair was walking through Namibia. There were also lots of famous Afrikaans singers, which she named a few, but I didn't know. On one particular day, she said she had to go to town for supplies, which took her the whole day. She left her husband to serve the customers. After serving one particular customer, the customer asked him, "Do you recognize me?" He thought for a moment, considering all the people he was at school with. But the little farm school, he would have remembered at his little farm school if there was an American. "No," he said, "I don't remember you." The American then said, "Does the name Ford ring a bell?" He thought for another minute, wishing Macy was there to help him. "No," he said. The American proceeded, "Maybe does Harrison ring a bell?" What the hell? On my day off to go to town, Harrison Ford came to eat my apple strudel.